three. The answer is Travis Kelce. Travis Kelce with 17 touchdowns. This is my favorite part of the entire show. Darlington, come back over there. We need to talk about Amari Cooper. The Cowboys have a number of players they need to take care of this offseason, and Amari Cooper, who is a free agent, is one of those. Last year, he had 79 receptions, over 1,100 yards, and 8 touchdowns as Dak Prescott's primary target. So, Jeff, if you have recovered from that humiliation. Here's the position. Listen, I mean, when an organization does something and you can see all the ways that it is fraught with peril, and then that comes back to bite them, that's bad management. By trading what they traded for Amari Cooper, they are in a complete trick box. They have to sign him.
And it always feels every time a team signs a player and doesn't sign him. Ramsey, for instance, out with the Rams, you always wonder what happens next. With Amari Cooper, though, the conversations that I'm having behind the scenes are that they are focused on signing him before the start of free agency. They cannot rely on having 2 tags, because if the collective bargaining agreement goes through, the Cowboys no longer have 2 tags. Right now, they feel like Dak is the one that could take longer. Lock up Amari Cooper by the start of free agency, and then tag Dak and work on him over the next.
Perfect. So that is the plan in Dallas. Jeff Darlington is saying, get a deal done with Amari, keep him in-house, and then have the ability to franchise tag Dak and continue negotiating. That's a reasonable plan. My question to you, Jeff Saturday, quickly before we get to Dak is, I have a hard time making up my own mind where I slot Amari Cooper among the best receivers in the league. The positive side of him is he has obviously completely changed Dak Prescott's trajectory.
Absolutely.
The negative is all the not being on the field at the end of the game when it really mattered, all that kind of stuff. You talk about the DeAndre Hopkins of the world. Is he that level of elite? Is he one of the absolute top receivers in the sport?
Yes. He is one of the top receivers, and he deserves to get paid in Dallas for the things you just brought. When you make your quarterback a better football player, that's why they trade first-round picks, and that's why they keep you there. I don't care what he is on another team. What he is on the Cowboys is the reason the Cowboys have to pay him. He is a fantastic receiver, whether it's receiving yards, whether it's touchdowns, complete, you name it. He's in the top 5 in almost every category. This guy has played to that contract and then some. You got to pay him. It's a must deal.
All right, that's fair. So we'll accept that as a given. So if they do get the deal done with Amari, what do we expect then to happen with Dak?
I continue to think that we're going to need a deadline, a hard deadline for this to get done.
From Dak?
From both sides, like to the point where they almost go all the way to June or July 15th. When if you franchise tag him now, right? All of a sudden, you open up the window to continue negotiations for several months. And very clearly, neither side wants to give right now. There's no concessions, it feels like anyway, being made. Personally, I think this is going to go all the way potentially into the summer, especially if they do what I just said. And
Mike Tannenbaum brought up the notion that it goes farther than that if you're Dak and they franchise you, you don't sign that thing until Labor Day.
You don't sign it. What does Dallas do if Dak says, I'm not signing it, I'm not playing? The Cowboys have no leverage here. Like, Dak is your franchise. Dak's going to get what number he wants to get, whether you like it or not. All he has to do is exactly what Mike did. I'm not going to sign it. I'm not going to play. I'm not going to sign it. What are you going to do if you're Jerry Jones and Stephen Jones? Dak Prescott has played himself, and the Cowboys, with the Cooper and the Dak situation, have painted themselves into a corner where they don't have leverage when your quarterback goes, I'm out. What are you going to do there? You got a new coach, Mike McCarthy? You don't think he wants his starter? I mean, all chips are on the side of Dak Prescott at this point.
All right, going to be fascinating to see where that thing all nets out. But again, the headline here, we expect a deal done with Amari Cooper sooner. Huge football stuff to get to this morning, and it starts in Washington. We all know that the Redskins took Dwayne Haskins in the first round last year. So it would seem unlikely that they would take another quarterback this year at the 2 spot in the draft. But listen to what their new head coach, Ron Rivera, told Sarah Spain yesterday on ESPN Radio.
Done an evaluation on Dwayne. We feel pretty good about who he is. He's done a nice job here. You know, he played, especially at the end of the season, a lot. So we've got good tape to evaluate, and we saw some pretty good growth. But, you know, we have to react what happens in front of us. You know, we don't have the first pick, Cincinnati does. So based on that, you know, we have to decide the direction we want to head from there. So we're going to wait and see. So as far as we're concerned, we're doing our due diligence. We're looking at every player. And then we're going to finish the rest of the evaluations. But again, we're going to do everything that we need to do so that when it comes time, there are no surprises.
All right, I got two Jeffs for you this morning, Saturday in Darlington. I want to start just quickly with the player's perspective. There is no rule that says the coach can't say, oh, yeah, Dwayne Haskins is my quarterback, and I'm excited about it, and we're going forward with him. So what should a player, maybe particularly Haskins, read into the fact that Rivera said basically the opposite of that?
Yeah, you know you're not his guy right now. Like he's saying that, whether it's Tua or whether it's down the road, you feel like he's trying to move on without you. That's not the vote of confidence you're looking for from Ron Rivera in his first year there.
So, Jeff Darlington, what do we make of that? Tua obviously is an extraordinary, tempting opportunity.
Well, look, I've spent a lot of time around Ron Rivera. He's one of the most honest people in the NFL. What you hear from him is what you're getting. It's not just a cliche. And from conversations I've had off air, basically Rivera does want to see whether Tua is completely healthy, whether he thinks he's a generational player, and he will consider it there. That being said, I'd still feel like this is setting up the next few weeks, next few months leading into the draft to just make sure, as he said it, he's doing his due diligence.
I want to ask you this question, Jeff, Saturday, and I want to preface it because before people lose their minds, I'm in no way comparing Dwayne Haskins to Peyton Manning. But when you were in Indianapolis with Peyton all those years, and then the situation comes up where they're going to draft Andrew Luck, they're drafting the guy who was going to be their quarterback. They could have kept Peyton there. There were some people, including me, who wondered aloud if they should, and they didn't. Spin it to this. If they do decide to draft Tua Tagovailoa, do they need to trade away Dwayne Haskins?
They would need to, because he's going to have no value when Tua takes his job, right? So if you're trying to get something back from the pick that you had the year before, now is the time. You can't expect him to play behind Tua and then anybody else because he's got such a small sample size of playing as it is. You've devalued your player for the trade.
I disagree with that. I think that you can boost the value by saying Tua is just simply that generational and eventually get something for him down the road. He's still an affordable guy.
I would agree with you had he not already played, but he does have some tape out there from last year, so it already speaks for what he's done. So the same evaluation Ron Rivera gave him, the next coach is going to do it. So without him beating out, because here's the deal, we all know Tua's coming off an injury. So if a guy's coming off an injury and still beats the guy that you picked midway in the first round last year, you're telling him, I got no vote of confidence in this guy. We're moving on either way. That's a bad sell job all the way.
Here's the way I look at this thing, Jeff Darlington. The value, assuming that all the medicals come back, and again, Laura is constantly talking to the doctors there, all signs point to the medicals coming back as positive as they possibly can. Assuming that is the scenario here, the value at the second pick in this draft is Tua. It is not Chase Young, no matter how good a player he is. So it feels to me like Washington has two options. You either draft him if you want him, or you trade that pick. Those two feel like the likeliest scenarios to me.
I agree. I know Jeff loves Chase Young.
Yeah, I disagree.
That's the only reason. I'm with you in the sense that
well, let me find out why you disagree.
Because I think pass rushers, although they're not as valuable as a quarterback, they are the second most valuable position on your football team. And you think about T.J. Watt, Myles Garrett, Bradley Chubb. Think about the names. Bosa from the 49ers don't make the Super Bowl without Bosa last year. He had 60 pressures, 9 sacks. He is a playmaker. Guys like that, you need on. You go draft Chase Young at number 2. 10 years down the road, you still have a starter and a guy who is making plays. If Tua doesn't work out because of a health reason, you're betting the odds that this kid not only is healthy, but that he can play that long for your franchise. With a defensive end, you're predicting it's a high probability this guy's going to be a producer.
To Greeny's point, though, you could get a haul at number 2 to one of these teams that want a quarterback. That is where the most value you're going to get.
And they already have a good defensive line. They already have a good pass rush. I get that it's not elite the way San Francisco's is. And they could put together something like that, and that's the blueprint. So at the end of the day, I'm going to make you do what reporters hate doing. I'm going to make you guess. Would you guess that when push comes to shove, they will take Chase Young?
I think the safe pick is Chase Young. If we're guessing right now, I think that Chase Young is the safe pick.
Look how easy that was for all of us. I mean, that's what I'm talking about. I mean, see how quickly they compromise? It's that fast they get in line with the O-lineman. That's what I'm talking about.
Well, then the draft really would then start at 3, and Detroit would be on the clock. And Tua would be sitting there. It'd be fascinating. Meanwhile, let's run the hurry up with you, Darlington. Panthers head coach Matt Rule said last week he absolutely expects Cam Newton to be on his roster in September. What are you hearing?
Yeah, that's fine. All well and good. I still think that the Panthers want to evaluate his health moving forward. We cannot dismiss Dave Tepper's comments. A healthy Cam Newton, yes, I believe will start for this team. But one that they're not sure about, I think that they will make they'll make decisions to make sure that they're ready.